He wanted to be Rabbi Akiva's first student. He was Rabbi Akiva's second student. His first student was Rabbi Meir. And it was that Akiva passed him over that really elevated Bar Yochai. It gave him an added humility. And Akiva would say to him, it's enough that myself, your teacher, and God understands your excellence. It's enough. And in some accounts, Rabbi Akiva said, it's enough that three understand your excellence. Myself, your teacher, God, and your mother, in some accounts. So on this holiday, we remember Bar Yochai, and oftentimes I bring down that song that I tracked down. I also love who wrote the song. We have the name of the song hidden in an acrostic in the verse. His name was Ibn Lavi. And that too is an interesting story, which I'll have to reserve for another time because it takes 45 minutes to tell it. Unless Susan wants me to tell it now. Do you want me to tell it? I think she, no?
No.
Okay, I'll pass on that. I'd like to introduce two. I want to introduce to my Susan Talbot here. She's carrying the guitar. And I could probably convince her to play, but she's holding the guitar in case I want to give over the holy song. But I'm going to pass it on to one of my co-conspirators. And maybe I'll come back and sing a verse later. So thank you for coming to the holiday, the Hilula, the celebration of Bar Yochai, who was given joy from his companions, his 10, they're called the Chevraya, the 10 companions. Nish, and it's their story that's told in the Zohar, actually. They have conversations with each other. And they say, if I had come into the world only to hear these words, it would have been enough. That's how extraordinary their conversations were. And he took so much, not only from his teacher, but what he received from his students, from his companions, was the shemen sason, the oil of joy. Mechaverecha. So I'm going to pass it on here to one of my co-conspirators. And thanks for coming tonight.
It's me. Am I okay?
Yeah.
I'm unmuted by the host. Beautiful. Hey everybody. I like being a co-conspirator with Rabbi James Stone Goodman and Susan and Karen and Danny. I feel like I'm part of the Chicago 7 or the Chicago 8 of co-conspirator. So I'm out in my backyard and I've made my Lag BaOmer fire, and we are in the period of the Omer, which is often looked at as a mournful period. We're in between the holiday of Passover and the holiday of Shavuos. We're in between the season of spring and the season of summer. And it's treated by the tradition like a mournful time, the Omer. And some people say the reason it's mournful is because although in the story of the Exodus, it's glorious that the slaves were freed and that we were a free people, we were lost because we didn't have the Torah yet. So it wasn't until 50 days of wandering until we reached Mount Sinai, and that's the 50 days of the counting. That's the 50 days between Passover, freedom, and Shavuot, the responsibility, the guidebook, the laws, the ethics of the Torah. And so it's treated like mourning, and it's perfect for me because you're not supposed to cut your hair or trim your beard. But there's one day that's supposed to not be a mourning day or not be a day that is heavy. And it's this day, the 33rd day, that's going to end when the sun sets. And they say, as Rabbi Jim said, it's the yahrzeit of Shimon Bar Yochai. The the legend is that Bar Yochai said that he didn't want his yahrzeit to be a day of sadness. He wanted it to be a day of light and gladness. And so we have the fires, and we have picnics, and we have celebration and singing. The story that I love to tell about Bar Yochai, the legend of Shimon Bar Yochai, one of them, is that, it's said by the tradition that Bar Yochai's teachings became the Zohar, the book of mystical interpretations of the Torah. And it's said that right before he was supposed to die, right before his death, he gathered all his Talmidim, his students, around him, and he started to teach. And he taught, and he taught, and he spoke, and he told stories, and he gave interpretations and commentary, and as if it wouldn't end. And even though it was time for the sun to set and for it to be nighttime, it stayed light outside as Bar Yochai kept speaking and talking and telling and teaching, and his students waited and listened and learned. And only after Bar Yochai was finished with that long series of discourse did the sun finally go down, and Bar Yochai died. And so they say the reason we light fires, bonfires, and campfires on Lag BaOmer, on his yahrzeit, is to commemorate that day that it seemed that the light just stayed unnaturally long. And so the fire symbolizes that never-ending day. So I'm going to sing a song myself. I think it's more ancient than Rabbi Jim's song. It's an ancient Lag BaOmer song that you're supposed to sing as the night comes. And then I'll pass it on to Rabbi Daniel, Rabbi Karen. But this is an ancient Lag BaOmer song to be sung around campfires all over the world. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light I'll see, I won't be afraid. Well, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. When the sky I look upon should crumble and fall, and the mountains should tumble to the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, you can stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Won't you stand by me? Darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Won't you stand? Oh, stand by me.
Hey everyone, from the Bogard house, from the Bogard bonfire, Lag BaOmer bonfire. Kids, you want to come over and say hi? Gav, you want to come over? You got to come closer. Nope, you're not in the camera. Camera's not on the computer. It's over there. There you go. Say hi. So we love, come on over here, Ezra. You got to come over on this side of me if you want to be seen. And you definitely should tie those skate laces.
I'll tie him. I was tying Noah's.
I'm
Where's the
skating.
camera?
I know how to skate.
Hi everyone, happy Lag BaOmer. I'm tying skates.
So I thought we'd sing a song. I thought we'd sing.
I'm skating too.
Oh, yep. I thought we'd sing what I think of as an old camp song, an old Jewish camp song. There's this song, Kol HaOlam Kulo Geser Tsar Ma'od, that is attributed to the Bratslaver Rebbe. And it's translated as, if you look at the lyrics, the whole world is a very narrow bridge, which I think many of us are feeling these days, right? And the most important thing is not to be afraid. So this is what the song lyric is, but it's kind of an unsatisfying idea when you think about it, right? Like, how can you not be afraid, and would you want to not be afraid? And is that the right, holy, sacred response? And so if you go back and you dig it up, if you actually look at the Bratslaver Rebbe and you look at the teaching, it's not quite what it says. It doesn't say that the whole world is a narrow bridge and the most important thing is to not be afraid. It says the whole world is a very narrow bridge and the most important thing is not to terrify yourself.
Or to talk while your father's teaching.
Or to... So I've been holding on to this. I was up, when was it? Friday night, Saturday night? There was one night this week when I finally, like, again, had just those moments of panic. And it struck me, right? Like, why did it happen? Because I've been reading the news. So, Kol haolam kulo geshet tzar ma'od. The whole world is a very narrow bridge, but I like the Bratslaver Rebbe's real teaching here. The most important thing is to try to not terrify yourself. So I invite you to sing with me if you know the lyrics. Kol haolam kulo geshet tzar me'od, geshet tzar me'od, geshet tzar me'od. Kol haolam kulo geshet tzar me'od, geshet tzar me'od. Vehaika lo lefached klal. Vehaika lo lefached klal. Kol haolam kulo geshet tzar me'od, geshet tzar me'od, geshet tzar me'od. Kol haolam kulo geshet tzar me'od, geshet tzar me'od. Vehaika lo lefached klal. Vehaika lo lefached klal. And back to Rabbis Susan and Jim.
Oh, there's lots of stories about Bar Yochai in the Talmud. He's often quoted in the Talmud. Bar Yochai, Shimon Bar Yochai. He was actually something of a rationalist. I think he was born in the Galilee, and he parsed laws and stuff up north. In Sidon, there's a famous story about him in Sidon when a divorced person came to him. They were trying to get divorced, and he convinced them that they had a celebration when they got married, so they should have a celebration when they divorced, and they decided to stay married, and then they had children after that. And Bar Yochai also, his father was friends with the Romans, and Akiva was, of course, imprisoned by the Romans, and Akiva tried to turn Bar Yochai against the Romans. Akiva said to him, "You can't trust them, you know." So turns out that the Romans allowed him to come and visit Akiva when they had him jailed. visit his teacher, and Akiva tried to convince him. And Bar Yochai's father was friends with the Romans. So another story, Bar Yochai went on a mission to Rome, actually. And on his way to Rome, oops.
What happened?
So on the way to Rome, the emperor's daughter was a Dybbuk occupied her, and when a spirit, a foreign spirit occupied her body. So when Bar Yochai got to Rome, he had an audience with the emperor, and the emperor says, I have a real problem with my daughter. Something's wrong. And Bar Yochai says, oh, I can heal your daughter. And so he exorcised the Dybbuk. And the emperor says, what can I do? And he says, I want you to rescind the decrees that you had drawn upon our people, the prohibition of the Shabbos and circumcision and kosher. And so he became in favor with the Roman court. And another story, Bar Yochai finally turned against the Romans and became a loyal opposition. And he went into hiding. The Romans were in the land, and he went into hiding into a cave for 12 years, he and his son. And while he was in that cave, it's when he was instructed into the secret rites that he would be known for, the esoteric knowledge. He was instructed by Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet. And he and his son Eliezer studied in that cave for 12 years, and it was time for him to come out. He came out. Wasn't safe, so he went back in for another year, 13 years. Then he came out, and this time he asked a different question. When he came out again, he says, what needs to be done? How can I serve? So there was some work to be done in the time in the land, and he purified some land, some areas, and the Romans were still in the land, but something of the fight had left him. So he spent his last days taking lunch in the sunshine and studying the texts. And he ended up believing that if he could do something right, that right twice, the world would be redeemed.
Mm.
Something that right twice, the world would be redeemed. So all the teachers that came after Bar Yochai that taught in that manner, we call them the mystical teachers, they all claimed Bar Yochai as the paradigm. Luzzatto, the Italian, the Holy Ari, Isaac Luria, the Baal Shem Tov, Israel ben Eliezer. They all said, I am Bar Yochai, I am Bar Yochai. And when they taught from the heart to the heart, Bar Yochai spoke through them. And oh my God, and look who's here. My sacred partner, she is Bar Yochai.
And there's a little bit of a Devar Acher, there's another little legend about this is our campfire here, about the cave.
The cave.
Another kind of story about the cave is that when they were in the cave, a carob tree grew.
Yeah.
And a mystical spring came and fed them and nourished them.
Yeah.
So that they were open to the teachings. And another story comes to tell that after 12 years, they did come out of the cave, but Bar Yochai was looking for the world that he had left. And instead, when he came out, he saw, and all of this happens outside of Sfat, the holy city of Sfat. A few miles down the road is the town of Meron.
5 kilometers northwest.
I know, I walked it.
I used to walk it every day.
No, it wasn't you, it was me.
Oh, that's right.
I walked it in the middle of the night.
I forget sometimes where I end
And
and
the
you
truth
begin.
is, there really are springs in the caves there. There are many springs and many caves. It's a very limestone area. And in Meron is actually on on a hill. Meron is the town
Where his tomb
where
is.
his tomb is, where he lived. And the story is that when he came out, he was very critical of the Jews because they were planting. They were farmers. They had cattle. He said, I don't understand. How come you're not studying? And God got angry and said, you haven't been here for so long. Things have changed. You need to be open and not so judgmental. And so the punishment was that he had to go back into the cave for another year.
But do you know that everywhere he looked, his gaze destroyed?
Mm.
X, the man with the X-ray eyes. And wherever he gazed, it would destroy.
So he finally did come out, and then the legend continues.
And came out to serve.
He did.
Finally, yeah.
And I can tell you in 1972, I was in Meron for the summer, and we were excavating different parts of the holy city. And people were kind of angry with us, especially the people in the yeshiva, because they thought we were digging in tombs and we were upsetting the dead,
Sanctity.
the sanctity of these caves that were used as tombs. But it was important that we, kind of uncovered the history of the place. And so we had permission, and we were digging in this one cave. And of course, we told lots of Bar Yochai stories, and we were looking for the spring and the carob tree and really thinking that we were in a tomb. But as we dug and we dug, we found it wasn't a tomb at all. It was a first century mikveh.
Mikveh.
It was a mikveh from the time of Bar Yochai.
Fantastic.
And it was the first time that a woman had been in the mikveh in over 2,000 years. And so in the Galilee. And so everyone made a very big deal.
That's a great story.
About our beautiful mikveh.
I love that story. That was in 1972?
1972.
Wait a second. You had a life before you met me? Oh my God, it just occurred to me. Anyway, that's a great story.
And to this day, people go to Meron, and apparently they broke a lot of the quarantine orders.
Yeah, because they gather there every year in big festival.
Cut their children's hair and to light bonfires and to remember the story and the many stories and legends of Bar
Also,
Yochai.
there's a great segula. There's a great healing that comes from Bar Yochai, and people go there on this day for healing, for the segula of Rashbi of Bar Yochai. Should we pass it on to the next?
Pass it on.
That was a great story, Susan.
So I wasn't planning to do this yet, but because Rabbi Susan, Rabbi Jim were sharing about Meron, let's see if this works here. Someone let me know if it does. Danny's disabled screen sharing, so
Try
it's
again.
okay. What's that?
Try again.
Yeah. All right. A little bit of let's see. Do you see that? So Amy and I went to Meron.
Nothing shared yet, Randy.
Oh no?
Try one more time.
Well, okay. I'm not gonna spend much time on it. I see. Wait. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Oh well. I had pictures of Meron, 1996. Amy and I went to Meron for Lag BaOmer, and we stayed overnight. We slept on the earth. We went from fire to fire to fire. There were all different kinds of groupings around the fire, some of them, all different like kind of subcultures, I guess you would say, around the Lag BaOmer fires in Meron. And there was thousands and thousands of people, and there were bands that played, and there was music, and there were lots and lots of fires, and lots of kids with really long hair who were going to get their haircut the next day on Lag BaOmer day. And then we slept on the ground and woke up in this beautiful forest. We slept at the last campfire we went to, and we woke up in this beautiful forest. and spent that day kind of watching the kids get their haircut and walking around the kind of different encampments. And one of these days, I think I shared pictures at one of my Omer teachings a few days ago. So, but I wanted to do this. Campfire is really important to me. It's really a part of who I am. I think that's true of a lot of people. I grew up with campfires and bonfires and sharing stories and songs. And that is something that I've passed on to my children, and I think they'll pass on to theirs. And so, as I said at some point in a social media post today, it wasn't until I was an adult that I learned that there was a Jewish holiday that revolved around having campfires. So that was very wonderful to know. And ever since then, this has been one of my favorite holidays. Don't tell the other ones, they'll be jealous. But I'm going to invite everyone to look into the fire that I have. And I'm going to just do a little teaching. If you can't see what I'm talking about, pretend or imagine, or maybe you'll see it in your own fire if you have one. But this is a little teaching about the colors that can be seen inside of a fire. And the colors, the different colors of the fire are compared to different mystical worlds in the Kabbalah, which of course is part of this chain of this passing down of received wisdom with Bar Yochai. So inside a fire, you'll see blue, maybe deep in the fire, in the origin of the fire. Blue is the world of nefesh, the level of soul of nefesh. And nefesh is about your physicality, your body, feeling yourself in the moment, from head to toe and from toe to head. And so in the blue and the fire, you can concentrate on your physicality. And then there's the yellow of the fire. And I certainly see yellow in the fire on my screen. And that is the level of soul called ruach, which is a word many of us know. And that is about emotions and about your personality, the part of your personality that is your emotional self. And then fire also has orange, and I can see the orange in my fire even through the screen. The fire is behind me. Orange is the level of soul called neshama. And those are our thoughts and ideas, our intellect. And then in every fire, there's also black, the black edge of the fire at the edge of the flame. And that is the soul word called chaya. And chaya is about intuition. Those things that we can't sense, that we can't feel with our physical body or feel with our emotions or think about, manifest into our thoughts. This intuition is what's beyond knowing. It's that which we know and we hardly are even aware that we know them. And then finally, there's the smoke, the barely visible smoke that rises from the flame. And this is the merger of all of these soul levels, the merger not only of our own soul levels, but of our soul with the soul of the universe, our soul with God, our soul with the spirit that animates life, that part of us that we let go of, that isn't even us anymore, no ego, just connected to the universe. And all of that in the holy fire. I love being around the campfire with people, and I'm sorry we aren't all around the campfire tonight because we have to be at home and we have to make sure that we keep each other and ourselves safe. But I hope that that all of the levels of soul accompany you wherever you are, and that you feel we feel one another's presence in the warmth and the glow of the fire.
So I'm going to share a story with you. I love sharing stories around a campfire. And this one, the basis for it came from the Talmud. But I'm sure in the Talmud story, it was two boys. So my story is two siblings. So once upon a time, there was a family that lived on a farm with a large hill in the middle of the property. As the parents got older, they moved away and they gave their farm to their children. They gave half of it to Sammy and the other half to Jamie. The parents told Sammy and Jamie that they should each find their own life on either side of the hill and that each should care for their half of the farm. And so they did. And as they got throughout their lives, they had wonderful, wonderful lives. Sammy lived alone, focusing on the farm, on learning, and on friends. Jamie got married and had children, focusing time on the farm and on their growing family. Both Sammy and Jamie were really happy. Now one night, Sammy couldn't sleep, and tossing and turning, couldn't stop thinking about Jamie. How hard it must be for Jamie, with all those people to take care of. Jamie must really be suffering, with all those mouths to feed, and the house must feel very crowded. It probably does, I can speak to that. I have so much, Sam thought. I should give some of what I have to Jamie. I live here alone. I don't need my full crop. I know our parents split everything in half, but Jamie should have more because there are more people over there. I'm going to give a portion of my crop away. It will be a wonderful surprise for the family to wake up to. And so, as the night grew darker, Sammy went outside, put a bushel of produce in the wheelbarrow, and wheeled it quietly up the hill and down the hill, and placed it in Jamie's barn, and then went quickly home before anyone could see. Sammy fell asleep pretty quickly after that, satisfied with having helped Jamie. Meanwhile, that same night, Jamie had gone to bed early, but woke up in the middle of the night. And then the thoughts started, as they tend to in the middle of the night. Jamie couldn't stop thinking about Sammy, and how all alone, Sammy couldn't possibly get all the harvesting done that was needed. And Sammy must be so lonely, all alone on the other side of the hill. Jamie realized what needed to be done. Sammy should have more of the harvest, so Jamie was going to share it. So Jamie snuck out of the house, loaded a bushel of produce into the wheelbarrow, rolled it up the hill and down the hill, and placed it in Sammy's barn, and then went quickly home and crept back in, so no one could see Sammy. After that, Jamie fell back to sleep, no one could see Jamie. After that, Jamie fell back asleep, satisfied with having helped Sammy. The next morning, both Sammy and Jamie were surprised to see that all of the produce that they had at the start of the night was still there. How could this have happened? Maybe they dreamt the whole thing? Maybe they thought they had more than before they went to bed. Well, they thought, I should still help out. Maybe tonight. During the day, neither Sammy nor Jamie really thought about it, and then night came again. Again, Sammy couldn't fall asleep, thought of wanting to help Jamie, so repeated the actions of the night before. And Jamie again woke up in the middle of the night and did the same. Again, when they woke up in the morning, it was as if they still had everything. And then one night, Sammy went to bed a little later than usual, and started for Jamie's barn a little later than usual. And Jamie woke up in the middle of the night a little earlier than usual, and started for Sammy's barn a little bit earlier. Sammy went up one side of the hill with a wheelbarrow full of produce, and Jamie went up the other side of the hill with a wheelbarrow full of produce. And as they both reached the crest of the hill, and they saw each other, both realized what had been going on night after night, and they smiled, and they embraced. And that spot became a sacred spot, a place of holiness and love and connection, because it was there the two siblings had reached out to help each other and showed true love for each other. And because both Sammy and Jamie learned that even though someone else is in a different situation from our own, it isn't necessarily better and it isn't necessarily worse. But when we reach out and help, when we think about the challenges that others might be having and have compassion and empathy for them, we too can create sacred moments and holy places wherever we go.
Hello, America. I'm going to sing a little bit of the song, the holy song of Bar Yochai. The song had... Huh? The song had the reputation to heal the physical and align the spiritual. So it was a very precious song, and was able to track even who wrote the text of the song. The text of the song about Bar Yochai was written by Shimon ibn Levi. Shimon ibn Levi, his name appears in acrostic in the song. And he was born in Spain, came into Fez to North Africa, and he started to cross the deserts of North Africa to find his ancestry in Baghdad. And he took on with a caravan, and he told the caravan driver, he said, can you take me across the deserts of North Africa? I'm heading for Cairo, and then Baghdad. And caravan driver said, sure. And Ibn Levi said, but I celebrate the Sabbath, so I can't travel on the Sabbath. And caravan driver said, no problem. So they're traveling through North Africa. They go through Morocco, and today is Tunisia, and where I was born, in Algeria. I don't know why. Algeria, and it became the Sabbath. And Ibn Levi reminded the caravan driver, I have to stay here. I can't travel on the Sabbath. A caravan driver reneged on his promise and said, well, time is money. We have to keep going. So he left him some food. The caravan driver left Ibn Levi some food, and Ibn Levi settled in for the evening. Getting on Shabbos, he made the prayers and wandered down from the mountain was a desert lion, mountain lion. So there was nowhere to go. There was nowhere to hide. Ibn Levi stood there. He was making the prayers, and he said, well, I'm in all the way. So he finished the prayers, and the desert lion was seemed to be mesmerized by the prayers, and it sat there like a sphinx, how big cats do with their legs out in front of them, and watched Ibn Levi. And when Ibn Levi was done, he unpacked a little bit of the food he had, and he ate a little bit and threw a little bit to the animal. And then the next morning, he got up. The lion was still there. Ibn Levi made the morning prayers, unwrapped his food, ate a little bit, threw a little bit to the lion, sat there for the whole Shabbos, waiting for Shabbos to be out. They made the third meal at the end of the Shabbos. Lion sat there watching Ibn Levi, mesmerized by the prayers. Ibn Levi made the prayers, unwrapped what food he had left, threw a little bit to the lion, ate a little bit. And as the story has it, the next day, they saw people in Tripoli. He wandered into Tripoli in what today is Libya, Louvre, we call it in Hebrew. And on the back of the lion rode Ibn Levi into Tripoli. And everybody thought, oh, this must be some person. Ibn Levi said, I'm on my way to Baghdad. And at that time, around the turn of the 15th century, there was no Torah knowledge left in Tripoli. So Ibn Levi met a woman, married, had a son, and stayed in Tripoli and single-handedly returned Torah knowledge to the people of Tripoli. And the only other thing we know about Ibn Levi is that his son was silent, and he left some poems about watching the Wadi, where the water runs high and fills and empties and fills season after season, Ibn Levi and his silent son. And the only other thing we know about Ibn Levi, the only other thing he left us, was this song about Bar Yochai. I'll just sing a verse because there's 10 verses. Each one corresponds to one of the sfirot. Bar Yochai Nimshach Tashrecha Shemen Sason Mechaverecha.
Rabbi Daniel, shake your head. Were you eating corn on the cob? That's awesome. That is a traditional Lag BaOmer dish, I think. So I want to reserve the right to, I want to sing Shema and Hashkivenu, but I want to wait till it's a little bit darker out, a little bit more towards evening. So I'm going to save that for maybe what'll be my last round or next round. So I'm going to offer a song. I talked about campfires and what they mean to me. And this song I'm going to sing is one of the reasons, or I guess one of the fond associations I have with campfires. So, you know, probably 9-10 years old, and I'm at summer camp in northern Minnesota that became eventually a home for me, and one for my family later on as well. And a counselor nicknamed Willard sang incredible songs, kind of blew my mind. He sang songs by he sang John Prine songs, and he sang songs by a singer-songwriter named Michael Murphy, who's now known as Michael Martin Murphy. Michael Murphy sings kind of a hybrid of country and folk and rock and gospel. And I came home from the summer only wanting to buy Michael Murphy albums at the record store, you know, and kind of really directed my taste in music for forever. So I want to sing one of the songs that Willard used to sing around the campfire that is actually about, the fire is in the song. And I used to cry and cry and cry when I'd hear this song, especially when it was coming towards the end of camp. So sitting here by the fire in my backyard in University City, I'm thinking about northern Minnesota and all of the campfires. Oh, I'm turning on original sound. Proud of me? All right, it's called Carolina in the Pines. She came to me, said she knew me, said she'd known me a long time. and she spoke of being in love with every mountain she had climbed. And she talked of trails she walked up far above the timberline. From that night on, I knew I'd write songs with Carolina in the pines. There's a new moon on the 14th, first quarter the 21st, and the full moon in the last week. It brings a fullness to this earth, and there's no guesswork in the clockwork on the world's heart or on mine. Yes, there are nights I only feel right with Carolina in the pines. When the frost shows on the windows and the wood stove smokes and glows, as the fire glows, we can warm our souls by watching rainbows in the coals. And we'll talk of trails we walked up far above the timberline. Yes, there are nights I only feel right with Carolina in the pines. Yes, there are nights I only feel right with Carolina in the pines.
I hope everyone hears the peaceful sounds of our children yelling at each other in the background.
The dogs.
Or the dogs barking at the neighbors. Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to a slice of our life.
Yeah. Yeah. But there was a secret chord David played, and it pleased the Lord. You don't care about music, do you? Goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, minor fall in the major lift. Baffled king composing, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw a bathing on the roof. The beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. Tied you to a kitchen chair, broke your throne and cut your hair. From your lips she drew Hallelujah. 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 You say I took the name in vain. I don't even really know the name. But if I did, well, really, what's it to ya? 'Cause I blaze a light in every word. It doesn't matter which you heard. The holy or the broken. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Your turn. You have to unmute that.
I'm going to read a poem. It was written by myself about Bar Yochai. I could tell a story, but it's a long story. And it's mostly about people that nobody knows. So I'll read the poem. About Bar Yochai, he was the paradigm of the certain kind of teacher. And we claimed him Bar Yochai. Bar Yochai, we sat around a table and asked each other, what is it about Bar Yochai? I asked Luzzatto, the Italian. I am Bar Yochai, said Luzzatto. I asked the Holy Ari, what is it about Bar Yochai? The Ari looked into my forehead, read out the pathway of my soul. I asked the Baal Shem Tov, the master of the good name, what is it about Bar Yochai? He was the one who expressed ambiguity, said the Besht. He was the one who expressed ambiguity, one eye smiling, one eye crying. Bar Yochai attached himself to the present, said the Baal Shem Tov, in wonder and terror simultaneously. He detached himself from outcomes. He left students. I am Bar Yochai, said the holy Israel ben Eliezer, the Baal Shem Tov. On this we all agreed. Bar Yochai dreamed peace. On the way to Rome, he fell into a pond, saw two letters floating in the water. He looked up into the sky, saw the complete dream of peace in one word imprinted in the heavens. He wrote, I have half of everything I want. Thus he spent his last days believing if he could make the peace prayers properly, twice the world would be redeemed. Excuse me, he often said, while I kiss the sky. Mario High.
And it looks like we lost Randy.
Yeah, but not long enough.
Everyone say hi. We lost Rabbi Randy.
We're having a Lagba Omer marshmallow roasting.
Oh, here. He's back. Look at that.
Oh, good. Good timing.
Welcome back.
You're muted. Oh, he's unmuted me. Had a little technical difficulties, my friends, but we're back. Oh my. So kind of getting towards evening. So I thought I would do an evening prayer. And of course, this evening ends the Lag BaOmer. We'll be moving to the 34th day of the Omer, and before we all depart, we'll count the Omer for the 34th day and move towards Mount Sinai and Shavuos, moving towards summer. But for this evening, that it's been a privilege to be outside and to sort of feel the elements with the fire warming, being a warming source. So I thought I would sing the evening chant and then sing the Shema, and anyone feel free to join me. And then Hashkivenu. Evening, the evenings, evening the frayed edges of our lives, Ma'ariv, Aravim, Amen. Ma'ariv, Aravim, Amen. Evening, the evenings, evening the frayed edges of our lives, Ma'ariv, Aravim, Amen. And for the source of everything, the source, the power that connects us all, that allows us to feel compassion for those that we know and for those that we will never meet, to feel compassion for ourselves, to even feel compassion for Mother Earth, to feel that there is nothing separating us from each other, us from the natural world, nothing separating us from the divine. In this moment, on this Lag BaOmer, during this crisis, all the world truly is one, is echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. I've been thinking a lot about the counting of the Omer. Thinking about the fact that we know when the Omer count begins and then we know when it ends. It is definite, it is certain. Begins at Passover, ends at Shavuot. Begins with the time of our planting and ends at the time that we gather the first fruits of what we planted. There's a certainty about the counting year after year after year. And yet there's also another counting for us in 2020. Counting the days that we are battling a virus. Counting the days that we are in quarantine. Counting the days that our lives have been narrowed and people are suffering. Bruce Springsteen has been doing a series of, he's been a DJ playing songs for troubled times. And he said he's actually marking each day, marking it, just like counting the Omer, marking each day that he's had to stay at home and shelter in place. So this time, though, is uncertain. We don't know when it will end. We don't know how it will end. It's not like counting the Omer in that way. But at the same time, it might be like the original counting of the Omer and the story in the Torah. The children of Israel, they knew they had left slavery, but they didn't know when they would reach Mount Sinai. They didn't know when they would reach the Promised Land. Their count did not have a definite end. And yet, in the end, there was an end. And there was the Promised Land. And there was hope. And there was a new beginning. Let it be true in our days of counting as well. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. I'm going to sing this out in my neighborhood. You sing it out in your neighborhood. And maybe we'll hear each other in the intersection. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. I'm singing with the birds. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gotta be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Ufros Aleinu Sukkot, Sukkot Shlomecha. Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha. Cover over us tonight with a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace for you, for those you love. A shelter of peace and healing and love and compassion and hope. A Sukkot Shalom over all creation tonight as we move from the 33rd to the 4th day of our counting. As we move onward during this period of sheltering in place, we hope with shelters of peace. May all creation please be covered in a Sukkot Shalom. For one and for all. Amen. Shalom. Peace.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our campfire over here.
Getting darker.
It's getting darker. Yeah, we're down to one child out here. The other two have melted in various forms.
Manish and Halila.
Exactly. Ezra, you want to say hi to everyone?
We're roasting marshmallows.
And we're roasting marshmallows. So I thought I would share a lullaby that's one of our favorites, and I happen to know one of Randy's favorites as well. So if the terrors of the night creeping into your days, the world comes stealing children from their rooms. Guard your innocence from hallucination. Know that darkness always gathers around the light. There is a light, can't always see. There is a world, can't always be. There is a dark, we shouldn't doubt. There is a light, don't let it go out. The world screams and shouts, sees a dragon's tail, a ship that stole your heart away, set sail. All that's left is leaving. All you got is grieving, and all you know is needing. Ya-da-da, ya-da-da, ya-da, there is a light we can't always see. If there is a world we can't always be. If there is a dark we shouldn't doubt. There is a light, don't let it go out. This is a song. This is a song for someone like me. I know the world is done. You don't have to be. I got a question child in you before it leaves. Are you tough enough to be kind? Do you know your heart's got its own mind? Darkness gathers around the light. Hold on, hold on. If there is a light, can't always see. If there is a world, we can't always be. If there is a dark, we shouldn't doubt. There is a light, don't let it go out. This is a song. This is a song for someone. This is a song. This is a song for someone. Someone like me. Someone like me.
We're going to, I'm going to read a poem that I wrote today. And then Bar Yochai Central here is going to close for the night. But I'm going to read this piece. And then you got something you want to do?
Well, maybe I'll tell my little story and then you'll finish with your
Okay.
counting of the Omer. Is that it?
No, it's not that.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay. So
It's another one.
Oh, do it.
Okay.
I'll see if it fits.
Conversations from the edge. What you gonna do now? I'm gonna make cookies. What kind of cookies? The kind that crunch in your mouth, but not too crunchy. Something sweet, but not too sweet. They're gonna make you fat? Not these cookies. These cookies eat fat. They make you thin. You eat too many of them, you get skinny, those kind of cookies. Who are you going to give those cookies to? I'm going to give those cookies to everyone I know who needs some cookies. Then I'm going to start giving them to strangers. Leave them on their front porch with a note and a poem. That sounds like a good cookie. It's a meditation, this cookie. It's a meditation cookie. I'm going to forget about you know who, and I'm going to forget about you know what. I'm going to take off my mask. I'm going to put on an apron, and I'm going to make meditation cookies. And I might eat a bunch of them myself. This is your plan? This is my plan. I thought you were going to storm the Bastille. First, I'm going to make cookies. Amen. Amen.
Well, it's been lovely sharing the campfire with the rabbis, the music and the stories and the poetry and the song. I was thinking about Karen's story, about the brothers, about Jim's teachings, about how Bar Yochai promised that if we could do two things right, redemption would come. And the promise that at one time, Lag BaOmer stayed a plague. So maybe it didn't happen yet, but it tells us that it's possible. And like Karen's story about the brothers, there is this other story about the holy city of Sfat. Because there is something about praying on the graves of our ancestors. There is something about calling upon Bar Yochai and Rabbi Akiva to help us in this time, to help us lift up our spirits and promise us that a better time is possible. And so the other person that's buried near that place is the Holy Ari. And there's lots of stories about the Holy Ari buried in the cemetery in the city of Sfat, not far from Meron, just 5 kilometers. Right?
Southeast.
Right, up the road. And there's this great story about someone visiting the synagogue of the Ari in Sfat. And on the wall of the synagogue of the Holy Ari was a painting of the Golden Dome, the Mosque of Omer on the Temple Mount. And another rabbi came in and visited and said, how could this be? Why would there be the picture of a mosque in this holy synagogue? And like Karen's story, where the 2 brothers, that bold act of compassion, that act of love, that doing that thing, I guess, twice perfectly, in that place, the temple is born, or there's redemption possible. So in this story too, in that moment where he questions why the mosque is on the wall of the synagogue, remember this story? He's transported to the Temple Mount. And when he gets there, he sees 2 groups of people. He sees Muslims on one side and Jews on the other side, all claiming this space, and ready to fight. And what they do is they stand there in such tension, ready to fight for this holy space, not wanting to share it, not thinking that anything else was possible but the violence that was about to happen. And the tension becomes so great that someone from one side, we don't know which one, threw their weapon, but it fell short. And it fell between them. And so someone else threw their weapon on top of that one, and another, until all of the weapons of war were piled in between them in a great pile. And someone thought to light them a fire, made the greatest fire that anyone had ever seen. They burnt all the weapons of war. And in that place, the smoke, like the incense of the temple, went into the heavens and drew godliness down. And in that place, peace and healing came forth. So I hope our fires have brought some light back into this dark time that we're in. And even though this Lag BaOmer did not stay the plague, we know that acts of compassion, bold acts, trying to do something right, 2 times in a row, maybe.
That right.
Something
that right.
Yeah. Will bring redemption. So
Do you all want to count the Omer for us?
Sure. Want to do it? Okay. Whoops.
The heck is that?
What happened? Is that accounting? Oops. What is that? Oh, there we go. We have 34.
Mhm.
Okay. We will count to 34.
The counting, or more and less. Less is best. Counting 34. More, usually less. Let's count the days, says the psalmist, so that the days may count. During the counting, the energies, the sphirot, guiding us, whether we know it or not. Welcome to your spiritual alignment. Today, two are working. Yesod within Hod, physical and thankful. Physical and thankful. The machine is working today. We will be better. All mistakes are mine. Today we count 34. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al svirat haomer. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who made us holy with mitzvahs and asked us to count the Omer. Tonight begins. Number 34, may it come to you for good. Amen.
Amen.